Maureen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Common Council, June the 2nd, 2025. Would you please stand for Pledge of Allegiance, remain standing for a prayer? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would ask you to join me in a moment of silence for our prayer tonight, and I'd ask that you bring to mind Police Chief Kyle Weatherly, who lost his mother. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
You're welcome.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Doug Goss.
Here.
Lucinda Wright.
Present.
Bill Engel.
Here.
Larry Parker.
Here.
Ann Taylor. Gary Turner.
Here.
Jane Bumbelow.
Here.
Justin Burkhart.
Here.
And Jerry Purcell.
Here.
8 are present.
And Taylor has a excuse for this evening. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting is held on May the 19th, 2025. Are there any corrections or additions?
Mr. President,
Mr. Purcell,
if there's no corrections or additions, I move that we approve them as presented.
Second.
have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the 19th as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Presentations, petitions, memorials. I don't believe we have any tonight. Communications from the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor's office has been busy. Last weekend, we had true proclamations, the block party, the bridge dedication, just a crazy busy weekend, so, but more stuff going on. So the Redevelopment Commission met last week and approved the resolution for 5 properties on Main Street as part of Revitalize Richmond. You probably read about that in the news. Several properties actually closed on Friday afternoon, so happy to report that some of the out-of-state property owners are no more. That was a nice sigh of relief. 2 more properties were cleaned out on Friday, but there'll be more to come to council in the near future on that. The Depot District Summer Kickoff Party 2 weeks ago, I never got a really good head count, but the firehouse reported seeing 300 people at their sample table, and that's how many tickets we had for the free food at different places. And also, the city closed on selling Berryfield Park to the owners of Chester Heights Apartments. Proceeds will be reinvested in the next closest park, which is Middle Fork Reservoir. However, there's one snag. You will see an appropriation in maybe the next meeting or the week after that. This was one of the properties that was held by the city, not the parks. And since we promised that the parks would have the money to reinvest in Middle Fork, we'll have to appropriate those dollars to Middle Fork, because at the closing, the city signed the closing because the city actually owned that property, not the Parks Department. It was one of those, there's probably more places like that a developer left and the city called it a park and made it a park and Parks maintained it, but it was never in Parks, never deeded to the Parks Department. So watch for that in the next meeting or two. Just give you a heads up. The mayor's unsheltered homeless task force met last week with all the community departments, including parks and law enforcement, for a better solution to the problems we've been having at Elstro Plaza and a parking garage. About 2 dozen are in attendance. We have about 3 dozen people who are a part of this task force that started meeting last year about different things. A county council member was president, was working with the city administration to develop a plan that may include spending some of the restricted opioid dollars that the city has been holding for a rainy day. So yes, the city has been holding this restricted opioid dollars for a rainy day because there's no timeline to spend it. Been waiting for the area of greatest needs, and we think that has now come to fruition with the problems in the city's central corridor. We're likely a couple of months away from coming to council to appropriate those dollars. We're working on a business plan and some other solutions. I think we're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for some of these most problematic, unsheltered homeless that hang around the central corridor. We're finally getting a plan together, and partnering with the county is going to be a big win, and others. All the other non-government organizations that are involved too are going to come to the table with some funding and see if we can do something better. And that's all I have.
Any questions of the mayor at this time?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, the
timing on the opioid dollars, I understood there was a time frame on that, so there is no time frame on spending those dollars.
No, they came with restrictions on how you spend them, and really, there's like 9 paragraphs. And Beth and AJ are kind of the experts on that, those restrictions, but we think we found a way to use some of those finally. You have to do a lot of programming, and you can do some facilities with programming, but it's very restrictive on how you can. They're really hard to spend, other than unless you give them to a group that's doing the recovery work.
No time frame.
Right. Absolutely no time frame. That was a strange one that had no time frame. And I think they recognize that a lot of groups are doing things, so there's going to come a day when you have this problem that the NGOs can't fix alone. And here's a pool of money to put with their money to fix the one thing you can't fix and haven't been able to fix for a couple of years. And that's what we're looking at. It was probably a good thing we held on to it and didn't just give it to somebody who's doing counseling.
Mr. President,
Yes.
kind of along those lines, dealing with the Housing Authority. I'm in touch with some people that are living in some of the Housing Authority projects. And what is the policing situation in those projects?
What is the what situation?
The policing. Who polices them?
I don't know. I assume we do. I assume we police them, but Housing Authority exists as its own entity.
Right. You can attend one of their meetings and you could, ask them what
I
they
assume we
currently
patrol them just
have.
like any other area. But do they have their own private security? I don't know.
They used to hire, they used to employ an off-duty officer to,
And I know that program's been revitalized this year, and we have a new rate, so I don't know if they're using it too. I know some people are, some groups are.
It changes, so
I don't know.
I'd get involved.
I would
and-
check with the Housing
Check
Authority.
their meeting minutes should be public, so you can probably find
Yeah.
it there.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of the mayor? Mr. Mayor, I think you've done a real good job with the homeless situation. I really commend you and your organization that's working on that, because there are fewer and fewer of those encampments.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
that
we-
looks better for the city.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
President, before we
Mr.
move
Engel.
on, what kind of problems are we having at Elstro and in the park?
Probably some police reports you can read, and I'll leave it at that. I'll be polite here in a public meeting. We've had some problems.
It takes 2 months to get a police report around here, so
No, I just,
I don't want to
I
do
will
that.
tell you, I'll be happy to enlighten you off camera, as will the park superintendent, but we don't want to discuss this on camera.
Any additional questions or comments? Report from the Board of Works, Public Works and Safety. The minutes are in our packet. Anyone have any questions of the May report? Reports from standing committees, under miscellaneous business. We had taken WCTV and appointed it to the Finance Committee. Do you have a report, sir?
Mr. President, we did discuss this at our Finance Committee meeting, and Mr. Purcell, if you'd like to.
Yes. WCTV is designated as a public education and governmental PEG access with channels set aside for said purposes. Indiana statutory requirements beginning July 1st, 2025, says that public education and governmental access channels are to catalog public meetings, thereby increasing the operational cost of WCTV. The continuance of WCTV providing this service promotes transparency in the operation of city and county government and is in the best interest of the citizens of Wayne County. And with no desire to see information shared covering governmental actions with the public being controlled or edited by an elected body, I make the following motion. In the interest of public access and transparency, I make the motion that the City of Richmond shall continue to use WCTV to televise, produce, and catalog all City of Richmond governmental meetings in accordance with Indiana statutory requirements. As part of this motion, I am moving to increase the cable franchise percentage paid by the city of Richmond to WCTV to 65% of the total cable franchise fees received by the city of Richmond from the current cable provider, retroactive to January the 1st, 2025. As part of this motion, WCTV shall meet the following. The city council have a voting member on WCTV Board of Directors. The WCTV Board will place a voting member from the organization acting as the base of operations of WCTV on their Board of Directors. May, not shall. WCTV will be required to submit a business plan moving forward no later than 6 months from the date of the passage of this motion.
Comments or questions from council?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for the mayor. Can I ask your thoughts on WCTV and what you'd like to see moving forward?
Oh, definitely. I've been on the board for a couple of years, and I was there trying to find a solution and met with President Witten and other vice presidents of IU and trying to solve all these problems. One of the things that I know is that the contract was written and signed by the late Mayor Sally Hutton, bless her soul, in 2015. So if whatever you do tonight, you'll have to get a new contract through the law department and get it approved. What I don't understand here is you don't have a resolution, so how does this work?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I asked Mr. Sickman, and Mr. Sickman disclosed that this is all we needed at the time.
In 2015, this was the procedure that was undertaken. Council had a voice vote to approve the contribution to WCTV, and because the Board of Works holds the contracts, a resolution was passed to the Board of Works at that time. And so if we are going to be consistent with past precedent, then this is the procedure, at least in 2015, that was undertaken.
So the resolution will be at Board of Works, not here.
It will be correct.
Thank you. Good to know. Move forward. Well, depending on how you vote tonight.
Okay, so we can vote tonight then on our pleasure, right?
That is correct, and then it will go to the Board of Works as the next step.
Right, okay. And if I understand this correctly, and I think we've all seen a portion of this anyway, that this is to end on the end of the year, depending upon what we get back from their report from their business plan. Is that correct?
That's correct. And amongst the discussion from the Finance Committee, there is heavy importance on being able to, and then legally this summer, to catalog our meetings, the public meetings and such, but to continue on with this organization that's been around and going through to the end of 2025, being a good partner and being able to support them, knowing that the end of 2025 might not be enough time, but through this governing body, if we could, continue reviewing reports and assist them, we might feel differently at the end of the year. But the way that the discussion has led so far is through the end of this year.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions or comments?
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. President.
Excuse me just a minute, Mr. Goss was next.
Okay, I'm sorry, didn't.
I was just going to second the motion.
Oh,
Yeah, that hadn't happened yet.
go right ahead, Mr. Purcell.
Just how important it is that we have a neutral party reporting on our meetings, et cetera, in my mind, and that WCTV serves the whole county. And I think it's very important that we participate in a way that helps us continue for the transparency for the complete county and county government.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Goss.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Ordinances on first reading.
Doug?
Mr. Goss.
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to read ordinance 30, 2025, and 31, 2025 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read ordinance number 30, 2025, and number 31, 2025 by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Ordinance number 30, 2025, an appropriation ordinance authorizing the submittal, acceptance, and appropriation of a grant from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
My name is Audrey Shake, and I am the grant administrator for the city. Ordinance 30, 2025 is an appropriation ordinance authorizing the acceptance and appropriation of a grant from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute through the Comprehensive Hoosier Highway Injury Reduction Program, CHIRP grant. The Richmond Police Department has submitted a grant application for $69,000 in federal funding to conduct enforcement for impaired drivers, speed enforcement, distracted driving, young drivers, and unrestrained occupants. The police department will issue media releases and conduct public awareness campaigns announcing the additional presence of law enforcement. Efforts will be focused in high-traffic areas where a majority of crashes occur within the county. The project aims to decrease overall crashes, fatalities, and injuries while increasing compliance of seatbelt, child restraint, speed, impaired driving, and distracted driving laws. There is no local match required for this grant.
Thank you. Any questions of Audrey at this time?
Mr. President?
Mr. Purcell?
You said county. Is this county-wide?
It's a project that's going to be taken on by RPD, but the focus areas are going to be countywide.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Thank you. Mr. Burkhardt, has the Finance Committee looked at this one?
We have not.
And you recommend?
Whatever the council's pleasure is.
Okay, whatever's council's pleasure.
Mr. President,
Mr. Goss?
since there's no match on this, I move that we suspend the rules and advance ordinance 2025 to second reading, read by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, to suspend the rules and advance ordinance 30, 2025 to second reading, read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Ordinance number 30, 2025, an appropriation ordinance authorizing the submittal, acceptance, and appropriation of a grant from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute.
Ordinance number 30, 2025 is on second reading, which is public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in opposition?
Move for engrossment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to engross. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Call the question.
Second.
Please call the question.
Doug Goss,
Aye.
Lucinda Wright,
Aye.
Bill Engel,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Jane Bumbelow,
Aye.
Justin Burkhart,
Aye.
Jerry Purcell,
Aye.
and Larry Parker.
Aye.
All are in favor, 8.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Ordinance number 31, 2025, an appropriation ordinance authorizing the acceptance and appropriation of allocated funding to be granted from Earlham College.
Good evening. Beth Fields, Director of Strategic Initiatives. This ordinance that we have seeks to accept and appropriate an allocation of $3,279,000 from Earlham College for the City of Richmond's Revitalize Richmond projects. These include the funding of the Special Projects Manager, the Gorge activation at $2.5 million, a multimodal trail to the campus at $2.12 million, and a rebrand of our transit system, as well as the acquisition of a trolley and the operations of that trolley for our downtown area. I have with me today Dakota Collins, who is the Director of Community Relations for Earlham College, and he's going to speak to you a little bit about Revitalize Richmond and the projects that are included there.
Thank you.
Mr. President, members of council, good evening.
Good evening.
As Beth said, I'm Dakota Collins. I'm the Director of Community Relations at Earlham, and I'm really excited to be here with you tonight to talk about the exciting project that is Revitalize Richmond. The city has been an intricate partner in this process since before its inception. When the grant was released, the funding opportunity was released from the Lilly Endowment back in March of 2023. The city was one of our primary partners on that steering committee. Members of the city served in working groups, and over the past 17 months during the implementation, the city has been a vital key partner in accomplishing a lot of the things that we've been able to do through Revitalize Richmond, including the 6th and Main apartment complex and the recently announced, as the mayor said, development project in partnership with the Economic Development Corporation and AP Development that we commonly call Project Phoenix. This is the next stage in the evolution of Revitalize Richmond. Now that a lot of those key development initiatives are on the tracks and moving forward, we're ready to pursue some of these peripheral projects that surround those development initiatives. Beth delineated them for you both just now and in your memo, but I am happy to answer any questions about the projects in front of you or the projects related to Revitalize Richmond that are not directly city-related.
Any questions from council for Mr. Collins?
Mr. President?
Mr. Purcell?
Yes. Dakota, I would just like to thank, and if you'd pass along Earlham for being such a good partner
Yeah.
and with the city of Richmond, and their presence here is very special. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. President,
Mr. Goss?
the trolley,
Yes, sir.
this isn't a trolley that's going to be on tracks.
No, sir.
Where's it going to be located?
No.
So what is this trolley?
Our plan is to purchase an electric bus and retrofit it to look and feel more like a trolley rather than an actual trolley on tracks or via electric lines. So this will be a bus, basically, but to have that look and feel of a trolley. It will go around the downtown and the Depot District along the loop. People will be able to hop on and hop off so they can park their car once in one neighborhood, in one parking lot, and do everything that they would want to do in that central business district, and then be able to get back to their car safely. There will also be a route that connects it to campus, so during the school year, Earlham students will be able to join that trolley, get to downtown safely, and back safely.
There you go.
Sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
Sounds like fun.
This is all a part of our trying to connect our students directly to the downtown neighborhood. In planning for Revitalize Richmond back in the summer of 2023, we asked our students if they would go downtown more. And they said yes, if two conditions existed. One, of course, if there were things to do. And two, if they felt as though they could get there safely and quickly and on an appropriate timeline. And so that's where a lot of the transportation initiatives pull directly from, because a lot of us drive to and from and around the area and the county. I drive to and from campus, but these students often use more traditional methods of transportation like biking and walking. And trying to bike or walk down US 40 can sometimes be and feel incredibly treacherous. And so we're trying to remove those barriers for students to get to downtown and the Depot District.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Burkhart, it's my understanding it's council's pleasure on this one, is that correct?
Yeah, the Finance Committee did hear this, and we are recommending this to move forward tonight.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Goss?
I move that we suspend the rules and advance ordinance 31, 2025 to second reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and advance ordinance 31, 2025 to second reading and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Ordinance number 31, 2025, an appropriation ordinance authorizing the acceptance and appropriation of allocated funding to be granted from Earlham College.
Ordinance number 31, 2025 is on second reading, which is public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, what is council's pleasure?
Move for engrossment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to engross. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Call the question.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to call the question. Please call the question.
Doug Goss,
Aye.
Lucinda Wright,
Aye.
Bill Engel,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Jane Bumbelow,
Aye.
Justin Burkhart,
Aye.
Jerry Purcell,
Aye.
and Larry Parker.
Aye.
8 are in favor.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Earlham, for a little bit of $3,279,000.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ordinance is on second reading, please.
Ordinance number 23, 2025, an appropriation ordinance amending the 2025 budget.
Report from the Finance Committee.
Yeah, Mr. President, we discussed ordinance number 23, 2025, and recommend approval.
Thank you. Any comments from council before we go to the public? Ordinance number 23, 2025 is on second reading, which is public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition?
Move for engrossment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to engross. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Call the question.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to call the question. Please call the roll.
Doug Goss,
Aye.
Lucinda Wright,
Aye.
Bill Engel,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Jane Bumbelow,
Aye.
Justin Burkhart,
Aye.
Jerry Purcell,
No.
and Larry Parker.
Aye.
7-1, it passes.
Thank you very much.
Ordinance number 28, 2025, an appropriation ordinance amending the 2025 budget.
Mr. Burkhart, Finance Committee report.
We did. We met, and we also recommend approval on ordinance 28, 2025.
Thank you. Comments or questions from council before we go to the public? Ordinance number 28, 2025 is on second reading, which is public hearing. Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone in the audience like to speak in opposition? Council's pleasure.
Move for engrossment.
Second.
Motion and second to engross. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Call the question.
Second.
Have a motion and second to call the question. Please call the roll.
Doug Goss,
Aye.
Lucinda Wright,
Aye.
Bill Engel,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Jane Bumbelow,
Aye.
Justin Burkhart,
Aye.
Jerry Purcell,
Aye.
and Larry Parker.
Aye.
8 are in favor.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Ordinance number 29, 2025, an appropriation ordinance amending ordinance number 35, 2024, known as the 2025 salary ordinance.
Mr. Burkhart, please.
Yeah, Finance Committee did meet on this evening, heard from Beth Fields, and we recommend approval.
Thank you. Comments or questions from council? Ordinance number 29, 2025 is on second reading, which is public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience like to speak in opposition?
Move for engrossment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to engross. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Call the question.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to call the question. Please call the roll.
Doug Goss,
Aye.
Lucinda Wright,
Aye.
Bill Engel,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Jane Bumbelow,
Aye.
Justin Burkhart,
Aye.
Jerry Purcell,
Aye.
Larry Parker.
Aye.
8 are in favor.
Motion carried. We have no unfinished business that I'm aware of.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Remind everybody
RP&L in 10 minutes.
Soon.
Good evening, and welcome to the Monday, June 2nd RP&L meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Doug Goss. Here. Lucinda Wright.
Present.
Bill Engel.
Here.
Larry Parker.
Here.
Ann Taylor. Gary Turner.
Here.
Jane Bumbelow.
Here.
Justin Burkhart.
Here.
And Jerry Purcell.
Here.
Thank you. By now, you've received the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any comments, questions, anything you'd like to add?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from our past RP&L meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bills for approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Parker.
Finance Committee has reviewed the bills and moved for approval of $7,448,248.97.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bills of $7,448,248.97. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Remarks from the chairman. I would like to say that RP&L had an audit done, and along with Doug, we joined the post-comment section, and RP&L, Tony, congratulations, a very good, clean audit. And I don't know, Doug, if you'd like to mention anything.
Good job.
There you go.
Gold star.
We had a good team, and a good finance team, and yeah, we had a good clean audit again this year. So thank you.
Wonderful.
Great.
Appreciate participation in the exit conference. That's always important.
Takes a
Wonderful.
strong leader to bring all that together, though, Tony. Thank you.
I don't believe we have any unfinished business, so report by the general manager.
Okay, we have a couple of action items, and I'll give you an update tonight on our AMI metering project. But first, the pictures I have here show a project that occurred on May 19th. In the upper left-hand corner, that's a lineman that is clipping a fiber optic cable at midnight. So this is for the I-70 project. We had to reroute not only our electric lines, but also the fiber optic cable. The fiber optic cable is now going under I-70. So once those lines were clipped, the Parallax guys spent the entire night till 7 a.m. splicing fiber cables. And if you've ever seen a strand of fiber, it's about the size of, a little bit larger than the strand of hair. So you're splicing these two little cables together in a little machine, and it's a very long process. Pictured on the right corner is Jerry Wilson with Parallax doing some splicing there. But we borrowed a trailer so we could have two splicing trailers on both sides of 70 to make the project go a lot quicker. So good job to the Parallax guys. It's one of those things that occur behind the scenes that no one never knows about unless that night you were gaming online and your Wi-Fi went out. That's what was going on. So.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So tonight we do have a request to award a bid on a new 2025 Class 3 extended cab 4x4 truck with a utility body for the line department as previously approved in the budget. We are trading Unit 40 Ford, which is a 2012 with over 120,000 miles now. We did have two bids, one from Wetzel Ford and one from Community Auto Group. The Community Auto Group bid was lower, but they required us to place an order by May 9th. Our last meeting was May 2nd, so it was impossible for us to get bids reviewed and back before you to make a recommendation in that timeline. As a result, we are requesting permission to award the bid to Wetzel, which would be the most responsive and responsible bidder, in the amount of $69,492 after trade.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. President,
Mr. Goss?
make a motion that we award the bid for one new 2025 Class 3 extended cab 4x4 truck to Wetzel Ford.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to award the bid of the new 2025 Class 3 extended cab 4x4. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I'd like, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to note that there was only $2.75 difference between the two bids, it looks like.
2,000.
For,
A few more.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the two in there.
Yeah. So little different, but unfortunately, yeah, they're.
Yeah, 7,000.
Their
Never mind.
requirements
Never mind.
Never mind.
I would like to ask the attorney, is there legally any way to put into this like a percentage that we can accept local bids
It's
in the
already
future?
Yeah, state
Okay.
statute provides local bidders with a, if it's under $500,000, a 3% discount. So that's built into the bid.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Welcome.
The next action item this evening is the quarterly ECA approval. The average across all of the rate classifications, this time the ECA has an average decrease of 0.000080 kilowatt, or cents per kilowatt hour. So I think that's like 10 thousandths of a cent. But believe it or not, we do track our electricity prices that far out. So in essence, the ECA has remained flat for the entire year thus far, and which is a decrease from previous years. So tonight I am requesting the approval of the ECA if there are no further questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Parker.
move for approval of the decrease.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the decrease in the ECA rates for the third quarter of 2025. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Every year, I provide an update on metering, specifically our conversion to the AMI meters, and we're getting close to the end, so this may be the last time you hear this. But AMI meters stand for Advanced Metering Infrastructure, also known as smart meters. In short, what they do, they provide two-way communication, which we talk about some of the benefits from time to time. How AMI meters work is that they send a signal to somewhere else. Either some of these meters communicate with each other until they get to a repeater or a collector, and then that data is either sent back to us at the utility office, either over fiber optics or over a Wi-Fi signal. Once we receive it, we're able then, it's uploaded into our system, and then it goes into the format where you can, the customer can see that data almost immediately in some cases. So again, with AMIs, two-way communication allows us to perform a lot of work remotely now, and it's leading to less of this, being boots on the ground and having to physically work with some of these meters, especially during a non-pay situation. So the AMI meters allow more information for the customer, and I'm not going to go through all of these again like we have in the past, but this is information that you can find on your mobile app. If you have Smart Hub, you can look at your usage hour by hour. You can look at an outage map that is live. You can look at that anytime from your app to see what's going on in the community and have an idea if there are any outages. When I took this screenshot, there were no outages, which is a good thing. And you can also look at some of your history. So that's one of the benefits an AMI meter does provide to the customer. Also provides information such as the recording of blinks, sags, and swells. This is very important for our larger customers. A fraction of a second blink can cause problems for our manufacturers. So it's nice that these AMI meters help us record those. That way we can determine if the issue is on our side and we can diagnose it and make a repair, or if it's on their side. So the AMI meters are very beneficial for that. So we currently have 16,485 AMI meters installed. And actually, that's probably wrong. The day I did this, it was May 27th. That morning, that number was lower. They were installing meters that day, so it continued to grow throughout the day. So we're easily over 16,500, maybe approaching 16,600 as of this week. So we still have about 5,200 non-AMI meters in the field. So this chart just kind of shows our progress over the last 3 years. At the end of 2023, we had close to 10,000. At the end of '24, we were close to 13,000. As of last week, again, we are around 16,500 and continuing to increase. So the meter department has been spending a lot of time getting these meters in the field, as well as Quentin and Greg that I pictured earlier sitting behind their computers. They are the service guys that do the disconnects, but since they have some extra time, because a lot of the disconnects can be done remotely now, they have also been installing meters, which has helped speed up the process. So let's see, where was I? So we have about 1,500 AMIs in stock. We have another 1,100 or so that will be delivered this month. And our final large order of AMIs are due this December. A few years ago, you allowed us to spend an extra $100,000 a year on meters. And what this also allowed us to do was to enter into a 3-year contract to lock in a price in 2022 when we're starting to see inflationary increases. So we've been able to freeze the price of these and receive meters every year. We've been getting about 3 installments each year for the last 3 years. So we will need about 400 meters, and we'll have to place an order in 2026 to wrap up this project. I have an asterisk on that 400 number because last week that number was 300, and then all those apartments were announced downtown. That's another 100, so we're going to need some more meters. That's a good problem to have. So, in addition to installing AMI meters, the meter department does much, much more. They respond to and research high bill complaints. I know, Dr. Wright, you had a local nonprofit this year that we helped, I think, maybe solve a problem there for you with a high bill complaint. So they take pride in trying to be private eyes and detect and figure out why the bills go up. So anyway, they do a really, really good job at that. Large customer billing is another one of the functions of the meter department. That's Rodney Atkins. Rodney manages our software for our large customer billing. And if you look at our financials, we have about 130 industrial customers that contribute to about 50% of our income.
Wow.
So Rodney monitors their bills very closely to make sure everything's working. He works, and they also work with those companies on power quality and things like that. Metering department does new installations, power quality monitoring, just like I mentioned. Ralph works with our key accounts, and of course, much, much more. But what happens after we complete the conversion to AMI meters? Well, we have nearly 7,000 streetlights in Richmond, and we need now to focus our efforts on converting those to LED. We're a little bit behind other communities with that conversion, but we've been doing a pay-as-you-go on the meters, and what we'd like to do is this upcoming budget, we would like to show you that we would like to spend those meter dollars that were no longer needed on purchasing LED fixtures to convert our city to LED lights. It's not just a luxury, it's a necessity. We can no longer buy bulbs, we can no longer buy repair parts. I don't know if you've noticed, but every month there are invoices from a place called 1000bulbs.com. That is the only place we can find some of our bulbs now. Our traditional electric suppliers are no longer carrying them, probably because they may not be manufactured anymore. So that will be our next effort.
Tony, do you have a window of time in which you need to get this done by?
It's nothing that's mandated. It's just that what we know we need to start a comprehensive conversion process, or we're going to be out of luck. So I don't like to point this out, but there are some areas in town you may be driving and you see the yellowish tint of a street light, and then you'll see a bright white or bluish one. Well, it's because we had to replace it with an LED. And so our focus is we're studying everything now, but we'll start with our main corridors, 27, 40, Main Street, and then kind of work our way throughout the city. So year by year, that's kind of how we're going to tackle this.
Bill, did you have something? Did you have a question?
No, I was going to ask the same question. Yeah.
Thank you. But that kind of wraps up my AMI meter and metering discussion. I have a couple other things, but entertain any other questions on this if you have any.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Parker?
I have a question. What do we do with the old meters? We junk them, or?
We actually, someone does come and get those. So we don't have to pay shipping. We collect them in these big totes, and then they come once or twice a year and take them and recycle them. It's cheaper than having to pay to get rid of them.
Do we get any money out of it?
Not very much, honestly, but again, it's cheaper than paying someone to take them for us, so.
Okay, thank you.
But they are being recycled.
Oh, good.
Tony, with some of these conversion items, are you seeing any tariff being?
Yeah, we are studying that right now. With bulbs, what we've seen, it has nothing to do with tariff, but just the inflationary increases. For example, some of our common bulbs over the last couple of years have increased at, $3.43 per bulb for one particular bulb. Another bulb that we use has increased $7.37 per bulb. So they are going up because of the scarcity of them now as well. But we do know the average LED lamp, the new fixture, is about $240. So again, we're working on all the details, and we'll have more information when it comes budget time. All right. If there are no further questions, just a couple of informational items. I don't know if anybody was on I-70 about 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, but this is what it looked like. And this was because of us. But this was requested by NDOT because we have power lines going over Interstate 70 at Union Pike that need to be relocated for the I-70 project. So our team worked very, very closely with NDOT, Federal Highway, to get this coordinated so that we could remove our lines. There they are between the lanes, cutting those lines. There they are on the interstate, pulling those lines once they came off, situated along Union Pike. And that was the end result. So big thank you to the departments that have spent numerous hours planning and coordinating to perform this work. They said it didn't take that long to get them cut down, but it took weeks and weeks and weeks of meetings to get this coordinated. So anyway, great job to those men that were out there this weekend on that project. Like I said, in the beginning of the meeting, we had Parallax working on fiber that went underground, and now we're relocating our facilities that go over 70 for that project. And we do get reimbursed for our work on this project, so. And finally, this weekend as well, we had 4 of our apprentices go to the TV PPA Lineman Rodeo in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Aaron Holler, our line superintendent on the left, did accompany them to that Lineman Rodeo. So in addition to the competition where they do numerous things, including, making repairs, doing pole top rescue with a dummy to, if they're pretending they're rescuing a human. They also have an educational component where they hear speakers, see demonstrations, and they do take a written test on some of those things that they're required to learn. So it's more than just that competition. There is an educational component when we do send our guys to these rodeos, and this year we did send 4 of our apprentices to this particular rodeo. And that's all I have for tonight, unless you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Parker?
20 years ago, RP&L changed the lights, the bulbs or whatever, out there on 70 at our interchanges. Do we still do that?
I've not heard of us doing it recently, so I need to check on that, Larry, to see if we're still responsible for that or not. I've never heard our guys talking about those.
We were paid for it at that time.
It could have been just that installation, but then I'll find out.
Because there's a motor in there that lowers those lights and they change them.
Yeah.
And years ago, we got paid to do that. I just wondered if we still did it.
Yeah, I've not heard anybody mention that, so I'm wondering if NDOT takes care of that. But I'll find out. It's a good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tony? I just want to reiterate, good, clean audit, great leadership that we have with RP&L. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you. Karen already got signatures. Good job.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, WGTV, Channel 11.